Hello, students. Have you ever stopped to wonder how the smartphone in your hand, which was maybe designed in America, or the car you see on the road from a Japanese company, ends up right here in India? Well, the answer is a very important economic process called foreign trade. Today we are going to understand the basics of foreign trade and see how it is the main channel that connects our world in a process we call globalization.
So, this is what we will be covering today. First, we will look at how our own markets have changed so much. Then, we will get a clear definition of foreign trade. We'll also look at a very interesting example, the case of Chinese toys, to see how it works. After that, we'll learn how trade connects different markets, and finally, we will see how all of this is part of the bigger idea of globalization.
All right, let's begin with our first topic. To understand foreign trade, let's start with something we can all see around us. Our markets, and even the things we buy, have changed dramatically over the last few years.
If you ask your parents or maybe your grandparents, they will tell you about a time, not too long ago, when there were mainly only two types of cars on Indian roads, the Ambassador and the Fiat. But just look around you today. It's a completely different story, isn't it? We have cars from almost every major company in the world. And it's not just about cars, right? Think about your mobile phones, your televisions, even your clothes. The amount of choice we have today is huge compared to what it was just 20 years ago.
So, this brings us to a very important question. How did this big change happen? And how did it happen so fast? What is the reason behind this incredible transformation of our markets?
Well, the answer to that question is a simple but very powerful idea. It is the main channel that connects different countries. It is called foreign trade.
So what exactly is foreign trade? In very simple terms, it's the buying and selling of goods between countries. It's the process that allows a company in India to sell its products in, say, America, and a company from South Korea to sell its televisions here in India. This exchange of goods is the main way countries are connected economically.
This picture here gives you a great idea of what it looks like. Imagine these huge ships carrying thousands of containers traveling across the oceans. Each one of those containers is filled with goods, moving from one country to another. This is how a product made in a factory in one part of the world reaches a shop in another.
Now, foreign trade is interesting because it affects two different groups of people in two different ways. It affects us, the buyers or consumers, and it also affects the producers, the people and companies who make the goods. Let's understand both sides.
So, for us, the buyers, what does foreign trade mean? It's simple, more choice. We are no longer limited to only the things that are made in our own country. And what about the producers, the people who make the goods? For them, it is a huge opportunity. They are no longer limited to selling only in their domestic market. They can now sell to customers all over the world. Okay, talking about these ideas is one thing, but let's look at a real-world example to make everything crystal clear. We are going to take a very famous case study that you might have even read about, the example of Chinese toys entering the Indian market. I want you to imagine a typical toy shop in India, but maybe 20 or 30 years ago. What would you see on the shelves? You would probably see toys made by Indian companies, perhaps wooden toys, simple dolls, and other games made by small, local businesses. And then, something changed. Toy manufacturers in China saw that India was a big market, and they started exporting their toys to our country. Suddenly, Indian toy shops began to look very different. They were now filled with new plastic toys from China, which had new designs and were often much cheaper. This created a new situation for our Indian toy makers, direct competition. So, what happened because of this competition? Let's look at the three main groups. First, the Indian buyers. For them, it was good news. They now had more choices, and the toys were available at lower prices. Second, the Chinese toy makers. For them, it was a great success. They got a brand new market to sell their products. But what about our Indian toy makers? For them, it was a very difficult time. Their toys were being sold much less because they could not compete with the lower prices. Many of them faced huge losses. This shows us the real impact of global competition.
This example of the toys teaches us a very, very important lesson about foreign trade. It shows us the main thing that trade does. It connects markets and increases competition.
The result of this process, where Chinese toys are competing with Indian toys in Indian shops, is something we call the integration of markets. It means the Indian toy market and the Chinese toy market are no longer separate worlds. They have become connected or integrated.
Let's understand this term properly. Market integration basically means that because of trade, producers from different countries are now competing directly against each other, as if they are in the same market. And another interesting thing happens. The prices of similar goods in the two countries start to become equal over time.
So let's just repeat this main idea to make sure it is very clear. Foreign trade results in connecting the markets or integration of markets in different countries. In other words, its most important job is to link the markets of the world together.
Okay, so now we understand what foreign trade is and how it integrates markets. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Where does all of this fit in?
This whole process, this rapid connecting and integration of countries through trade and investment, has a name. We call it globalization. So you can see, foreign trade is a major part of what drives globalization. It is one of the main forces bringing the world's economies closer together.
But that brings us to one last, very important question for today. Is it only foreign trade that is connecting our world so fast? Is that the only reason for globalization?
And the answer is no. While trade is very important, it has been helped by other big factors. Things like rapid improvements in technology, which make it easier to transport goods and communicate. Changes in government policies that encourage trade, and even the role of international organizations. These are the topics we will explore in our next session to get a complete picture of globalization. Thank you for your attention today.